so we'll just say oral. And that'll make sense in the second one I show you. And then the myelencephalon is the tail of the seahorse. Okay, so we're going to start with this guy, but when you take him apart, you should have a seahorse that comes out. So I'm just going to use this one because I like the colors on this one, and it's a little easier to see stuff without the whole telencephalon all around. So now we've done the telencephalon, we did the cerebral hemispheres, now we're in the diencephalon, so that'll be his head and his nose. The thalamus, that's the head, and it goes all the way around. And then the nose is the hypothalamus. Next week we're going to see both of those things again with some more detail going on there. But for now, just thalamus and hypothalamus. Cross out third ventricle, we'll see it next week. It will pop up again, and I want to introduce another model today. Okay, the mesencephalon is just a short little neck area, but it wraps all the way around, so if you turn him over on his side, he has a neck on the outside too, so that's still the mesencephalon. So on the outside of the neck, you'll see these little straight parts. That's the cerebral peduncles. On the back of his neck, you'll see two bumps. You can see them from the side too. They're like fat rolls on the back of his neck. Those are the corpora quadrigemina. And then the cerebral aqueduct or the mesencephalic aqueduct, whatever one you want to call it, whatever's on your list, it's this tube here, so it's like his throat or his esophagus. Okay. For the metencephalon, that's his belly, and here's the piece of coral that he's sitting on, and then there's a little space between. The piece of coral is the cerebellum. The pons is the belly. And the space between is the fourth ventricle. And then for the myelencephalon, that's the tail, so everything below the belly. And the only thing we have in there is the medulla oblongata. And this is going to go out through your foramen magnum and become your spinal cord. So it's continuous with your spinal cord. So let's say I point at this whole thing. So the head of the seahorse, which is the thalamus. If I point there, if that's all I do, you just tell me thalamus. You don't have to say the thalamus of the diencephalon or anything like that. But I might ask a question, well, I will ask some questions to get the words diencephalon or mesencephalon or whichever one of those five. So I might have a question that says, what developmental region is the thalamus in? And it's the diencephalon. Or I might say, name a structure that's in the diencephalon, and you could say the thalamus or the hypothalamus. You're going to learn a few more. So if you just know the regions based on the, the head and nose, the neck, the belly, and the tail, that should be pretty easy just to look at it and you know what region it's in. But generally speaking, if I'm just pointing at it, you don't have to say of the for each one, okay? Okay, now so just to show you, you've got seahorses on all these models here too. So this is a seahorse also. So this this would be the thalamus here, that's his head and his nose, so that would be the hypothalamus. There's the neck, so that would be the mesencephalon. So you can see the cerebral aqueduct there, the corpora quadrigemina, or the fat rolls on the back of his neck. There's the pons, so now we're in the metencephalon. There's the cerebellum and the fourth ventricle, and then the medulla oblongata in the myelencephalon. So everywhere you can see a seahorse, you can see those things. On the smaller model, same thing. A little seahorse here. Come out. You can pull out this little seahorse here. So he's just like Big Brother. So you've got the thalamus and the hypothalamus and the mesencephalon, and the mesencephalic aqueduct, little cerebral peduncles, pons, medulla oblongata. So everywhere, any seahorse is fair game. Okay, any questions about those initial parts there? Okay, so two more definitions, gray matter and white matter. Gray matter is where you have neuron cell bodies. So, for example, the cerebral cortex. And white matter is where you have axons. So, for example, the cerebral peduncles. So you saw the cerebral cortex, it was kind of a darker color here. And then down here, this is white, that's axons. So the cerebral cortex is the gray matter with the cell bodies, and then the white underneath it are the axons. Okay, now for the sulci or sulcus is the singular, sulci is the plural. These are grooves that dip down, so dents on the cerebrum. And then the opposite of those are gyri, or gyrus is a single. So these would be ridges that stick up. So for the, okay, so that one's missing part of this frontal lobe, that's fine, analobotomy. Literally. Okay, so if you remember the bones of the skull, the lobes will be easy. The frontal lobe is, right in the front. If you see here on this rainbow color brain, which will not be on the practical because it's got labels on it. It's got all the answers written on it, so that one's not going to be on there. But it helps to study things. Let's look at this side because it's not falling down. So the frontal lobe starts behind this red and white striped thing, and it moves forward. On the more plain colored brains, this is going to be just a light pink color. So right behind the frontal lobe is this groove. So right behind this red thing, or if you have a less brightly colored brain, it'll be just like a light pink color, is what we call the central sulcus. So the central sulcus is the groove that separates out your frontal lobe.